Okay, we're gonna go over some more tips and tricks on how to orgasm if you've never orgasmed before. This video is centering vulva owners because that's where my area of expertise lies. And yeah, I just want to go more in depth, add a few more tips and tricks, add a fuller explanation of what I said in my Reels video that's on my Instagram. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and do so. Just to start out, things that I've said before and will say again, your best bet is your clit. 75% of vagina owners aren't orgasming from penetrative sex alone or penetration alone. So clitoral stimulation is really where it's at. A few things about your clit. Your clit does not like repetitive motion and can find that very irritating. So having a variety of toys, switching up the way that you touch your clit, whether it's tapping, rubbing, side to side, up and down, just trying to switch it up will sort of lessen that irritation that you can get. Another tip to lessen that irritation is to just kind of move your labia to the side. Your labia can also get irritated from repetitive motion. I would also say start off with a softer touch and use lube. Don't be scared of lube. Lube is your best friend. Now, a tip that I already included in my reels is to try this alone. I think performance anxiety is a huge factor that people don't even necessarily recognize. And not even necessarily performance anxiety, but also just the fact that somebody else is putting in work to try to make you orgasm. It's like a lot of pressure. It's easy to feel bad that somebody's like doing all this work for your benefit, right? It's different when you're doing it for yourself. So just being alone and giving yourself the time and space to really explore is my biggest tip. Warming up your yoni. I say yoni because this is a tantric idea that the vulva really takes 20 to 40 minutes to fully be warmed up. You want to try massaging it sort of like you're kneading dough. And in this solo setup that you have going, I talked about the sexual inhibitors. Really, your sexual inhibition system, and I've talked about this before in a great book, To Read As Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. She talks about this really in depth. You have your SES, your sexual acceleration system, and those are the messages that are sent to your brain in order to get aroused. And then you have your sexual inhibition system, which are the messages that are sent to your brain to sort of press the brakes. Totally evolutionary, totally makes sense in certain perspectives, but a lot of people have really sensitive sexual inhibition systems. So making sure that your environment is distraction free, inhibitor free is gonna get you there faster. Okay, tips and tricks already named. Keep the environment warm, do Kegel exercises. The key to Kegels is actually like try holding it in for a longer period of time and then releasing and then just sort of like rapid. Key to those rapid Kegels is to like not pull too hard. Like there's a way to do it where you're just like boom, like when you're putting all that force, you're using so many other muscles. I guess that's actually like not the proper way to do Kegels. There's also like Kegel balls, Kegel eggs, you know, these things that you can invest in. It's really interesting to me that there are actually a lot of benefits for people who have penises to do Kegels, especially when it comes to like urinary incontinence or like erectile dysfunction or things like that, or like ejaculatory control, better orgasms. But there isn't a whole industry set up for male Kegel aids, right? We just sort of respond to those problems after they happen. You have things like cock rings, etc., Viagra. No preventative measures because sexism, which is really an interesting analysis on how sexism works, that women have to constantly be in fear, not only be concerned about the way that their body looks now, but also in fear that their body will not serve the things that it's supposed to do in a male-dominated society once they get older. So we're constantly looking for these preventative measures, anti-aging, things like that. Men just worry about problems when they happen. Get loud, turn yourself on. If you're not into porn, be your own porn. Get a mirror, start looking at yourself. Even if you're not looking at yourself, you can totally like imagine yourself in your head. If you're not working with fantasies and you're not working with visual aids, then yeah, like you can turn yourself on. Try an air pulse toy. These are all the rave in the sex toy industry. They literally took the industry by storm a couple years ago. Something about this air pulse technology is just different. It's been making people squirt if they've never squirted before. It's been having like all these crazy results, and honestly, like I swear by them. My favorite toy is easily my air pulse toy. Instead of being a traditional vibrator, essentially what they do is they just send out pulses of air. It's really gentle, but at the same time you can definitely turn up the speed so it can be a little bit more hard if that's what you're into. These toys are revolutionary, so invest if you've never orgasmed before, or if you have, kind of along with doing Kegels, tense up your muscles down there. An orgasm is really just really fast muscle contractions, and by getting your muscles working, you're kind of pushing your body towards orgasm. Get on your stomach, get on your stomach, get on your stomach. For a lot of people who have outie vaginas, for whatever reason, sometimes orgasming on your back is not. I literally know multiple people who could only reach orgasm on their stomach, literally just because of the way that their vulva is set up. So if you haven't been able to, this could be a big reason why, especially if you have an outie vagina. For those of you who don't know, an outie vagina is when the labia minora, which has the industry has been moving towards calling the inner labia, because minora means smaller, and the inner labia aren't necessarily smaller than the outer labia. For a lot of people, they hang out, hence what an outie vagina is. Now, this piece of advice could go multiple ways, but I want us to all think about the anatomy of the clitoris, and also think about the clitoris having a foreskin, having a clitoral hood. Have these things called homologs, right? It's the way, and I've talked about this before, like all of our bodies in utero until a certain point are female, hence why cis men have nipples. And so the anatomy sort of morphs one way or another, but essentially it's the same parts, just kind of put together differently. People who have penises have foreskin. The clitoris, which is the homolog of the penis, also has foreskin. It's called the clitoral hood. It is entirely possible that you are unable to reach orgasm, at least clitorally, because your clitoris is overly sensitive. And if this is true, you want to try keeping that clitoral hood in place, and even potentially try a trick called layering. This is when you masturbate over your underwear, over your pants, over a blanket, however many layers you need. And alternatively, if you're masturbating and you're just not getting enough sensation, you can try going around that clitoral hood, going underneath it, and really stimulating it that way. Grab a mirror, check yourself out, babes. Like, it's time to get familiar. So yes, those are my key tips and tricks for folks who have never orgasmed before. Hope this is helpful.